The Living Zen-podcast is a gift from the members and associates of the Victoria Zen Center to you. If you enjoy it, please be sure to let your friends know about Living Zen. If you'd like to support our community, here are a few ways that you can do it. Download the Living Zen podcast app for iPod, iPhone, or Android. You can also purchase additional Zen Talks by Venerable Eshu on iTunes or Amazon.com. One of the most meaningful ways to show your support is by joining our Sangha as an associate. Your commitment of $10 a month will ensure that offerings like the Living Zen podcast and our online eZendo will continue to be available around the world to everyone with an interest in truly living Zen. To become an associate, please visit our website at www.zenwest.ca and click on the membership tab. Thank you for your support. Fundamentally, this practice of Zen is not about adding anything in or even taking anything away from the experience of this unfolding activity of the cosmos. So at the very beginning, this practice of Zen Buddhism itself, the practice of awakening, is the activity of awakening to things as they are. Generally speaking, in our lives, we tend to be consistently distracted by our thoughts, by our feelings, by our preferences and aversions. Things arise, situations, circumstances, environments, relationships arise. Being impermanent, they also dissolve, dissipate, disappear. And these two mutually opposing activities constitute everything that we experience in this world. Classically, we call them the activity of birth and death. There's no increasing the activity of birth, the plus arising activity. And there's no diminishing the minus dissolving death activity. These two opposing, simultaneous activities is all that there is in this vast cosmos. But we're so often just so busy having opinions, having preferences, making judgments based on whatever is arising, whatever is dissolving, that we become distracted by ourselves, by the idea of this thing that we call a self. So much so that we often miss this fundamental activity itself. We become so fixated in the world of right and wrong and good and bad and want to get rid of, that we miss the fundamental beauty, wonder, awe that's taking place in this very moment, in each and every moment of our lives. As I've said many times before, fundamentally what this means is that we actually miss our lives themselves, life itself. We're so busy living in comparisons with things in the past, or aspirations and expectations of things in the future, that we miss the fundamental wonder of what is arising in this very moment, the activity that we call this very moment. This practice of Zen that we engage in, therefore, is not an addition, it's not a removal of anything. This practice of Buddhism, the way of awakening, is simply awakening to things as they are, to this cosmos as it is, to this activity that we call life as it unfolds right before us. So this practice is fundamentally simple. We take all of the complex things that we engage in our lives, and we boil them down to one simple activity. Just this activity of sitting. We bring ourselves together to this activity of sitting still and breathing. And our very basic instruction is to simply pay attention to the experience of breathing. Not thinking about the experience of breathing, but actually dissolving, immersing ourselves in the experience of what it is to be breathed. Now, even as we do this, we find that we are able to immerse ourselves in this experience just for a moment at first, before we think and feel and are distracted this way and that. And that's okay. The practice, always in Zen, is to be aware, to return to this simple activity, the experience of what it is to be here, to be present, to be awake as we are sitting and breathing. We have different forms of practice in Zen. We do chanting, we do walking, we do bowing. As we continue to practice, we can learn the different roles, where we learn how to offer incense, how to ring a bell, how to beat a drum, how to turn lights off and on, how to care for other people. But fundamentally, no matter how long we've been practicing, this basic practice of being aware, being with whatever it is that we're doing, is the essence of Zen practice, Zen training. And it begins with this simple activity of sitting and breathing, what we call in Zen, Zazen.
Thanks for listening to the Living Zen-podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.